Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan. Today's video is going to be us previewing the 2020 wide receiver draft class. Obviously, Super Bowl's over immediately. It is now draft season. This table and 32 NFL teams and a ton of analysts are looking ahead to the draft. So let's talk about these wide receivers.
Plenty of teams that are going to need wide receivers this year. Some to mention. You can talk about the Raiders, the Eagles, especially in need of a wide receiver. So it's going to be an important position to go out and draft in the early rounds, especially. And there's a lot of good guys out there that they can go and get. Who wants to start us off with the guy I think all three of us believe are the number one receiver right now?
Yeah, I will start.
It's
and
not one guy.
I believe we're talking about.
I'm talking about CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not Lamb.
I'm talking about the Lambs.
It's not Lamb
just
chops.
one
This is
CD.
Lamb. This is
Talk
CeeDee.
about multiple CDs.
And it's not a capital C and a capital D. It's actually C-E-E, capital D-E-E, and then Lamb. But Lamb is spelled with L-A-M-B. It's not just L-A-M, which it
Let's
can't,
talk
it would
about.
seem like
Let's talk about this guy. You can spell his name however you want, but let's talk about him. So we all have him at number one on our board, right?
Simple. This is like simple scouting stuff that I'm doing over here. So.
All right, but we all have a number one receiver on our board right now for 2020 wide receiver. Okay, so that's what we were talking about. When I started watching tape on CeeDee Lamb, I was really impressed with him because, sure, he may not have that elite speed, but he's able to make catches in traffic. He uses his feet well. He has tremendous body control. He can make those athletic catches. Really good in one-on-one matchups. And another thing, he has that experience being a number one receiver. He's played with many high-powered offenses in Lincoln Riley's system in Oklahoma through the years. Lincoln Riley is, an offensive guru, you could say. And also, I think that you look at what he's done. He's been with great quarterbacks, as I mentioned. Baker Mayfield, college quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. So three great college players right there, and he's been able to succeed with all of them. He's a proven number one receiver because true number one receivers are hard to find, and there's a lot of teams that need a number one guy and not just a serviceable guy. And he is very dangerous after the catch. I specifically, this reminds me of one play in the Oklahoma-Texas game where CeeDee Lamb quite literally juked out all of the Texas secondary on his side of the field and scored a touchdown. And that moment, I really started to pay attention. I was like, wait, write that guy's name down. Play. So, yeah, CeeDee Lamb, I really think he could potentially be a top 10 pick. I think, honestly, you look at Arizona as a potential suitor, pairing him with Kyler Murray again, or Jacksonville, who I think is another team that could use a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you just said. I call CeeDee Lamb the stick shift. I made this nickname up for him when I was watching film on him, just because in an instant he can change direction, and you never know what he's going to do with the ball in his hands. That's where he's most dangerous, when he's running upfield.
I'd just like to point out that stick shift doesn't make you change direction; it makes you change.
Well, the shift itself changes.
Okay,
I
get what you're saying.
I don't get it.
But I'm just saying he's one shifty man.
There you go.
But there's a lot of shifty wide receivers.
Why don't you call him a shift tree like the Pokemon?
Okay, maybe I have one of those. There's a lot of shifty wide receivers in this draft. We could mention two Alabama receivers, of course. Yeah. Henry Ruggs, the fastest wide receiver in this draft class, and maybe in the past couple draft classes. And then Jeudy, of course, who was the number one receiver at Alabama this year. So, speak amongst those two.
Yeah, Ryan said this a lot in past videos where we've talked about some of these guys in our off-season outlook videos, but when we talk about drafting wide receivers, we've been talking about CeeDee and Jeudy and also other guys too. But Ryan is saying has constantly said the difference between the two is CeeDee Lamb is he's got really good off the catch. He's really good at catching the ball, but you always praise Jeudy's route running ability.
I do.
So that is something that he can do very well, and it's very important in the NFL to be a good route runner. Because if you're going to be a sloppy route runner in the NFL, I don't care how good your hands are. If you're not going to get open, then you're not going to get balls thrown to you. You're not going to succeed.
Yeah, I think Jeudy is the best route runner in this class, and I also think he's a little faster than CeeDee Lamb. So there are, it's not like CeeDee Lamb dominates him. It's really close. I just have CeeDee a little ahead. Jeudy, I think that I'm high on him as well. I think he'll go in the top half of that first round. He's my wide receiver too. Like you said, he runs crisp routes like CeeDee Lamb. Outstanding body control. He's hard to cover. One thing, when I was watching film on him with Alabama, I saw a lot of great plays, but I didn't see him used enough in the deep game. I didn't see enough of him making plays on deep fly routes. I'm not saying he never did, but I feel like Devonta Smith was more of that guy for Alabama. And
I think he's a huge guy. I mean, he's not really small. He's 6'1".
yeah, he is 6'1", and he made a lot of great plays on intermediate routes and crossing routes. They love the RPO in that Alabama system. But I felt that CeeDee Lamb was a little more of a deep threat and had just a little bit better hands. It's really close between them, but Jeudy, again, should be taken in the top half.
You just mentioned Devonta Smith. I think it's fair that we talk about him as well.
Yeah.
The third Alabama receiver that really showed off his stuff this year, and you mentioned the deep threat at which he is. It's really incredible how they had 3 completely different receivers at Alabama with completely different skills, right? Mm-hmm. You have Devonta Smith who can go deep, and then we talked about Henry Ruggs and Jeudy already. The route running with Jeudy and just the quickness. Mm-hmm. So it was just really cool to watch all 3 of those receivers go together. Now let's continue with these the highest schools. When the receivers that go there, because that's usually where you see the best receivers. Mm-hmm. But actually, the next one will be an exception to that. But let's talk about the Clemson wide receiver, T. Higgins.
Well, when I look at T. Higgins, I think, like the others, I think he's a deep threat. I think he's made some nice plays. I just don't think he's quite on the same level as those top 3 guys that we mentioned. I think he should be a first-round pick. With him, I look at maybe, I don't know, some wide receiver needy teams. Maybe you look at New England or Buffalo, kind of that range. Maybe Philadelphia as well, in that kind of early 20s and on range. I think you could look at him there. He is good, but you also have the factor of playing in the ACC. How good is the competition? But that's not his fault. I think he's a playmaker. I think he'll find his way into the back end of the first round.
Anything you got to say, Jordan? Or?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, Justin Ross, who's not in this draft class, but it was cool to watch them. Yeah. Just like the Alabama, they had 2 really good receivers that worked well together. And here's the exception to the big school that I'm talking about. Laviska Shenault from Colorado. A lot of the times when you're thinking of receivers, like I said, you're thinking of those top schools. Yeah. But Laviska Shenault has been able to do this at a smaller school and has really produced.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think that you see a lot of the things that you see in other receivers at a small school. Just kind of he goes unnoticed. He might be one of those guys where it's kind of like you get like usually around pick 27 to 28. There's that one first round pick where you're like, what? And it just really catches you off guard, but then it actually turns out to be okay. I think he's an end to watch out for that. I do have more of a second round grade on him, but I think he could definitely be a sleeper to sneak into the back end of the first round as well.
And you can kind of compare him not going to the biggest college, a college that you probably know the name of. You can compare him to N'Keal Harry of last year's draft that went, what was it, 31?
32. Yeah, he was kind of a surprise too.
Yeah,
I was happy with that.
I was happy with that as well, but that could possibly be where he goes as well.
Yeah, that's a good point you just made there, Jordan. Good job. But let's continue down the list, go back to the bigger schools, and let's talk about LSU, the national champs. Yep. Their wide receiver, maybe not number 1, because they have Jamar Chase there, who is literally number 1. But still a really good player and a first-round prospect in Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I really, he really grew on me. He was one of those guys that's kind of been a riser throughout the, draft process, as a lot of LSU players were. You look at guys on both sides, you see their draft stock go up as LSU makes their championship run. He's a speedster. He was part of the best offense in the country under that, great system with Joe Brady and Coach O. So I think he's definitely a guy, people like when your team wins a championship, I feel like that kind of helps your reputation, because then they automatically know that, and they know you were a part of that, and then you were a big part of that. So I really think that Justin Jefferson, from what I've seen from him, he's got the talent, and I've seen mock drafts with him I've seen him in the first round in a few, and one I actually saw this, honestly, might have been yesterday. I saw one that had him to Green Bay at, I think, 30. I thought that I think that's pretty good, because you feel like it's just Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I feel like they could use a solid wide receiver too.
I also feel like at LSU, when you look at CeeDee Lamb, you say, okay, he's the number 1 wide receiver there. But at LSU, you go, okay, well, you don't really know who's the number 1 wide receiver, so there's gotta be a couple guys that are in there. And still, Justin Jefferson is making plays, even though Jamar Chase was really the featured wide receiver last year. Yeah. And that's similar to how Green Bay has been rolling for years now with Devontae Adams and then others, But I think if Justin Jefferson is able to, if Justin Jefferson is able to come into this offense, he can really make an impact.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, once Jordy Nelson left, then it was just Devontae.
Yeah. Then it was Jimmy Graham came. People were excited. Then he did nothing.
Yeah.
But he's still kind of technically a receiver-ish. Kind of.
Yeah, we'll get to tight ends eventually. We'll do more videos like this. But tight ends really, just to mention, not really the most featured positions. That is Mouse from LSU as we're talking about them, yes. But If you guys have anyone else specifically that you want to talk more in detail about, because I do want to mention other names.
Yeah, well, really quick, I just want to say before you go into those other names, I just want to say this is a stacked wide receiver class. Like, there's always like those positions where you say like this is a really good class for that position. I mean, you look, and we could easily have 3 receivers taken in the first half of the first round, probably 2 additional ones, I would guess, like in the bottom half of the first round. So that's 5 out of 32, and it could end up being more. And there's a lot of depth in this class too. You got those elite guys that are going to be taken at the top, Lamb, the Alabama receivers, and T. Higgins and other guys. But then as you get into rounds 2 to 4, like guys that I think Tyler's about to mention, those are good depth players that can kind of quietly develop into NFL everyday players.
Mm-hmm. And this is another thing to mention. We learned from last year's draft that a lot of receivers that were drafted last year, they might not have been all first round or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of them ended up, the teams that they went to, they kind of changed the dynamic of that team. And it was not single-handedly per se, but they ended up being very successful. The wide receiver position last year was very important for teams to draft. So I think that it might be an upcoming trend to draft some wide receivers now, because you have guys like A.J. Brown, he had success. DK Metcalf, we got drafted a lot farther back.
The last pick in the second round, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, that was
that was unexpected. He ended up having a good season. Deebo Samuel as well. He had a good season.
Nico Hardman at times.
Nico Hardman too. Yeah. And Marquise Brown didn't have the greatest season. He had some good games, but he was also on that more run-heavy Ravens offense. But he still did create a deep threat for some defenses to have to cover. So the wide receiver position last year's draft was pretty good. And I think that it's going to follow up. You know, they got some stuff to live up to, but the names that we just talked about, the names that Tyler is going to say off in a few seconds, they got a chance to challenge him.
Yeah, and now I know people are going to be watching this video, and if we don't at least mention one of the top wide receivers, you're going to say, where is this person? Yeah. So I just want to mention some names. I still don't know how to say this first person's name.
Yeah, he's another guy that I've seen him. Yeah, take a stab at it.
I've always been saying Brandon Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk, but I don't know. That's just what I've been going.
That's right, you know. Hey, Arizona State, you know, N'Keal Harry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll keep going down the list. Tyler Johnson from Minnesota, Michael Pittman Jr., Jalen Reagor, that's another top name to look out for. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah. Peoples-Jones down the sideline.
Brian Edwards, Tylan Wallace from Oklahoma State, another underrated guy. Yeah. Colin Johnson.
He's really tall and he has really good hands and extension. I just remember that from him. So random note from me.
KJ Hamler had a standout season with Penn State this year. Antonio Gandy Golden, John Hightower, and Nico Collins, and I'll mention KJ Hill is the last one that we'll talk about. Unless I continue to go down this list and see someone that's
still alive in this draft class.
No, I don't think so.
He's not.
He's not on this list.
He would already be on here if he was. But yeah, now I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm not recognizing names too much.
Yep.
So I hope we mentioned your one of your favorite players, and if we didn't, let us know who we forgot, and we'll make sure to watch film on them and see what we think about them. And once we do that, we'll probably respond to you and say this is what we think of them, because we like to talk to you guys when you do comment. We really appreciate that. Also, make sure to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and make sure to do all those things like I said. And with that, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.